Hey everybody, pardon me. So, Little Round Top is closed once again. I believe it was open for a bit, maybe earlier this spring when I was here, and maybe later in the fall and the winter. But it's now closed again. They have been doing a ton of construction up there. I'm not even sure exactly what they're reconstructing or working on, but all roads to Little Round Top accesses are closed. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about Little Round Top, give you the basic facts. This happened later in the afternoon of the 2nd, basically at the time, excuse me, or just after folks were fighting over at Devil's Den, which I've already covered. You can see it over there in the distance. Of course, the Confederates won that hill, and the fight progressed over in this direction. You basically had commanding for the Confederacy. Now, these divisions were under John Bell Hood, but of course Hood was wounded over in the earlier fighting, Devil's Den. So we had an Evander MacIver Law, and he was also with Jerome Robertson for the Confederate side. On the Union side, we had Strong Vincent. He had 4 regiments, a full brigade, and he was also assisted by Patrick O'Rourke, who had 1 regiment. O'Rourke was commander, let me see, of the New York Zouaves, and Strong Vincent was commanding troops from Pennsylvania, from New York, and 1 smaller company from Michigan. This is a dead end, so I'm just going to kind of walk around the periphery here. And of course, as everybody knows, we had Joshua Chamberlain, who was leading the 20th Maine. And that is kind of the point of contention that I wish to address. Of course, I don't have much time here. So basically, the battle, like I said, started after Little Round Top. It was left, they noticed it was left largely undefended, first of all. And it was, oh shoot, Governor, oh, why can't I remember his last name? Union engineer was sent up here, not Morris, Governor something or other, I'm so bad at this, was sent over here and realized that it was largely left undefended. So he immediately called for troops to come over this way, which included mostly, again, men from under Strong Vincent's command. Also, again, assisted by O'Rourke and by Joshua Chamberlain. The fighting was pretty intense. This is kind of a lesser battle in the wider context of Gettysburg, as far as the duration of the battle, as far as the number of troops, so on and so forth. But it was a pretty hot little battle. And interestingly enough, in a rare case, the troop strengths were about even. Both the Confederates and the Unions, for once, were evenly matched going up this hill. So the Confederates gave it a good push, and they made pretty good progress. They made it near the top of the hill. And the point of the story that gets fuzzy is, I don't want to say fuzzy, things are really pretty clear about what happened. So the Confederates were fighting very well, making their way up the hill, but they were a bit gassed out because you have to remember, most of them came over from Devil's Den over there. And the other part that's not really fuzzy, but that's kind of contentious, is Joshua Chamberlain, again, who was commanding the 20th Maine. Now, not to take anything away from what Chamberlain did here, he certainly fought very heroically and commanded his men quite well. That's not up for debate. What is up for debate is the wider context of Little Round Top in the Battle of Gettysburg. Many folks who might be watching this are probably familiar with the book Killer Angels by Michael Shira. And what a lot of folks since then have kind of come to think is that there's really nothing essentially wrong with his book. I mean, now it is a work of fiction. It's fact-based fiction, but it's fiction. There's really nothing wrong with his book. There's really nothing wrong inherently with the movie Gettysburg that came out afterwards. And following that up, there's really nothing wrong with Ken Burns' documentary. Nothing wrong with any of those, inherently so. The issue is the focus, again, of Little Round Top, its significance in the wider battle, how much this battle mattered here. So at the end of the fighting, of course, Chamberlain gets a whole lot of credit, and he gets even more credit posthumously over the years, I mean, you know, in bits and pieces and in stages, as to his role, the success of the Maine Corps, that there were, I think there was also a 19th Maine, the 20th Maine under his command, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, in the current age, the point of contention is that since those books and movies have come out, have been written and produced, many people now are under the impression that was somewhat given by these books and movies. Here's the Round Top. You can see I'm getting you as close as I can, which ain't very close. The point of contention is that those books and movies have basically portrayed the 20th Maine and Chamberlain as having A, solely saved Little Round Top, and B, almost single-handedly winning the Battle of Gettysburg and thus winning the Civil War. That's where we have a problem. I can't remember, forgive me, someone who might be watching, who's left a couple comments on past videos regarding Devil's Den, brought up the great point, basically brought up this point in so far as the relative importance of Little Round Top, possibly also contrasted with the importance of Culp's Hill. I'm not really here to get into a discussion about what I personally think was more important. Maybe I'll touch upon that just a little bit. But suffice to say, it was not just Maine soldiers fighting on that hill. Again, many of them, many more were from New York and Pennsylvania. Again, a band from Michigan, as well as the folks from Maine. All fought valiantly, all did their part. Chamberlain gets credit because he was kind of at the latter stage of the fighting, and that's just not fair. That's just not fair at all. Also, I'd like to point out, now I can't remember what company it was, but there was a row of sharpshooters who greatly sent the rebels back when they got near the top of the hill. So it was not just fixed bayonets, you know, the order from Chamberlain, which is also kind of, now that part is kind of fuzzy as to who ordered the bayonet charge. Most of the credit does go to Chamberlain, but it may have, the point behind that is it was probably already a foregone conclusion. The Union was running out of their first batch of ammo. And as far as the wider context, everybody was running out of ammo, but the Confederates had no reserves. They had no backup. They had no nobody in the rear, you know, with wagons full of more ammo for them. They were gassed out, and they had no backup. They had nobody directly behind them. One of the generals from Little Round Top, oh, I always forget, Brigadier General Benning, George Benning, was actually supposed to be right behind, but he was kind of, I don't know what the word is, he was kind of flanking off to the left. He was not in direct support at the time. So the rebels were absolutely out of ammo, and with no more ammo coming in to the battle, no wagons behind them, they had no troops behind them, and they were gassed out from Devil's Den. So did Chamberlain win this battle here on Little Round Top? Absolutely not. Again, he fought valiantly, his men did very well, everybody on that hill did very well. And it was like I said, not the biggest battle, but a hot little battle. And suffice to say, dare I say, both sides fought very well. The Confederates did near the apex of the hill, but they didn't take it. But it wasn't just Chamberlain who saved them with the bayonets. The better question is, if you removed Chamberlain in the 20th Maine, would they have taken the hill? I don't think so. And if they did, it would have been for a split second, because the Union had people streaming in. The Union, of course, as with most of these issues, and I got to wrap this up, it would have been extremely short-lived, because the Union just had far superior manpower coming in behind them. You know, you had all the generals up there on the hill to varying degrees of proximity here, but they were all, you know, somewhat close. If it weren't for Chamberlain's men, they would have been supported pretty soon thereafter by somebody else, and pushed the rebels right back down the hill, who again were out of ammo and out of gas. That this has gone by so quickly. I want to one last thing. Gary is a very funny part in this story, because he was at Little Round Top. Then he so the vacuum on Round Top is almost solely placed on Sickles, but Gary was actually here. He then got sent over to Culp's Hill, and then he got sent back here to Little Round Top, although he kind of got lost coming back down the road. But there are some great works on this, and I want to mention, and no, again, no credit of any errors in this little talk go to him, but there are some great podcasts online on the web that you can watch that further expand upon this. And I'm just about out of time, folks. I'll leave more notes in the comments, because this definitely deserves a lot more notes and a lot more, and maybe I'll just shoot another video while I'm here. But for now, I'll see you on the next one.